I actually joined because I dropped out of high school. I was doing this. I was leaving school early, and then eventually I was like, I'm just gonna drop out. And I dropped out, but like any young kid, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
So thanks for joining me, Charlie. Do you want to start by giving me a brief explanation about what CRM Jewelers is and who you guys serve?
Okay, so CRM Jewelers is a family-owned and operated business here in Miami, Florida. We've been going strong since 2012. My father started this really by himself, and then a couple months later, I would say 4 to 5 months later, I joined, and then Dan joined. And I remember being in a office that was tiny, our first store down the street from where we're at right now. And in that store, we would fill the display cases with the watch and the boxes. So it looked like we had more inventory than we actually had. And I remember my pops talking to people, and he would tell the valet drivers outside, hey, I'll give you $5 every time a cool car comes outside so you can call me. And he would go take a picture of a watch with the car, and he started posting it on Instagram. And then he would follow as many people as he could possibly can in a day, and then unfollow. And then now that's like looked at as like spamming people, or like it's BS techniques, but it were techniques that worked back in the day. So I remember when we got our first 10K on Instagram, it was such a huge deal. And that was before like DMs existed on Instagram. That was before any of that. So just doing that by posting organically, no ads, no any of that. My father grew the page, and then Dan was like, okay, looks like Carlos needs a little help on this. And Dan likes numbers. He likes technical stuff. He likes charts, data, this. So he started hyper analyzing everything, giving watches a score on what would sell faster, what would do this. And that's how Dan and Carlos became partners. And then I actually joined because I dropped out of high school. I was doing this. I was leaving school early, and then eventually I was like, I'm just gonna drop out. And I dropped out, but like any young kid, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I went to college. I went to aviation school. I've done a bunch of different stuff until I decided that it was actually time to stay here. I never stayed at CRM in the beginning because I hated sales. I hate selling. I hate the strong arm side of negotiating to see who. To me, it's like an arm wrestling match, but with words. Like I don't like that because I feel like you're trying to take advantage of whoever's on the other side in the sales. So eventually, I just started saying, okay, how can I get really good at sales without having to negotiate? And I realized when you go to Louis Vuitton, you go to high-end stores, you don't negotiate the price. This is a price, and they're teaching you about their product. You're having an experience. They're selling you on experience. And that's what I decided to turn it into. So like my dad says, everybody has product. What changes your service and the comfort and trust levels that people have with you. So I get really pissed off when somebody tells me, hey, I went to Rolex and their watch is like falling down off their wrist. And I'm like, how did you go to the store that's dedicated to sell these pieces? They didn't teach you about your watch. They didn't teach you how to put it on time. They didn't size it properly. When you look at the watch, it's all scratched up, for brand new watch, just left the dealer, and it's kind of sad. So I like building relationships with people. I like educating my clients about what it is, and we decided to do that on YouTube. And we've been doing YouTube videos, have had a couple different personas throughout the years. And honestly, now we started, I would say, when was it? About December of 2025 or January 2026, we started doing content in Spanish. And we went from growing the most in English, 12,000 subs a month on YouTube, to growing 50, 60,000 subs a month, or somewhere around that ballpark in Spanish a month. So the Spanish really, really took off, and it went to a whole other level in Spanish. And we still do the videos in English. We still do them in Spanish. But yeah, and then fast forward to, well, the Spanish came after, but the reason we started doing the competition, and that's how I guess we crossed paths, was during the pandemic. We were really struggling to keep CRM afloat, and we got approached by this company, and we started doing watch giveaways. It was a lot harder than we thought it was, and we started doing it. A year or 2 years in, I had a client of mine tell me, yo, Charlie, how are you not running ads on this? And I told him, because we tried running ads and ads don't work. And he said, that's BS. Ads work. Every company run ads, even Coca-Cola, McDonald's, even big companies run ads, and you know who they are. You have to run ads. And we tried a couple of different companies. It wasn't really the best option. Then my client came, and he was like, I'm gonna spend $5,000 of my own money, and I'm gonna show you. And he went to my apartment from 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. He's leading up to Christmas, and then right after Christmas, all the days leading up to New Year's, and he turned those $5,000 into $20,000. And he was like, "Yep, look, you gotta show your Uncle Dan." And I showed him. My uncle was mind blown. He was like, "What is this?" So we went through the ups and downs of me learning by going on YouTube, Gemini, just having fun with the internet and burning through money. And I ran the ads for about a year or two until we came across a message from you guys that I believe it was. Oh, sorry. I believe it was a message from Ross, if I'm not mistaken, message Dan. And I was like, okay, I can't like, I feel like a lot of people like are like scammy. A lot of ad people are like, okay, look, we'll do it for X amount a month, but then they don't prove themselves, or they what is it, overpromise and underdeliver. There's a bunch of BS companies that dealt with, and we keep getting hit. And honestly, anybody who knows a little bit of what they're talking about sounds like they know what they're talking about to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. So anybody who would offer advertising services to us, it was sounded marvelous, but at the end of the day, it was just taking money or spending ad money. If they were working off of just off of a percentage, they were just spending ad money and not delivering any results. From the first couple of times I spoke to you guys, and then we got the quote, and then I thought it was pricey, but then you guys made me like an offer that to me it was just a no-brainer, and you guys have continued to improve on that. So I'm very, very happy with that, and that's how, I mean, we cross paths.
Awesome. Yeah, nice, man. I've got so many questions from that. Your story is really fantastic. So much from the dropping out of high school. I dropped out of uni myself, and yeah, lots of really good stuff. So I'm quite curious. Like, so back to the beginning with the empty watch boxes in the store. Like, what's that journey been like from kind of, I guess, imposter syndrome, something everyone has in business, and a lot of people, think that there's certain people who are bigger that can't relate to that, but it's crazy that like everyone goes through that. Like, what was that whole process like, and was there a point where you felt it changing, or do you still experience that to this day?
Man, sorry for my language, but I feel like I still don't know shit. And people see that I'm an expert, and the people that believe that they are an expert, I feel like don't realize that you have to continue to open your mind and pretend like you don't know, so you don't get complacent or arrogant about a subject. So there's people who are younger than me. There's kids who come here who sell watches. There's adults who are 70, 80 years old. And you just have to listen to everybody. You can learn something from everybody, whether it's something good or bad, whether it's something like, let me avoid that because they tell me how not to do this, or let me follow this person's path because they did a very good job. I feel like you can't think that you know more than everybody, and you have to be willing to learn. Going from the beginning, and there was not really social media like that. We were one of the first, not the first, but one of the first to start posting watches on the internet. I would just pick up books and read books, the Rolex Report, read just different books on different articles, different blog posts online. And I remember having these 4 to 5 watches, and I mean, it's really difficult, man, because you're playing with a lot of money at the time. And I remember Pateks that today cost 200,000-300,000 used to cost 70,000, and a $70,000 watch was like, wow, that guy has a lot of money. And now it's like $100,000 on somebody's wrist is like, okay, cool. You really go through a lot of, I guess, ups and downs. There's a lot of times that you're like, wow, like, I'm really living a nice life, and then you realize like, not really. I'm like in the beginning of this. So there's always evolution. There's always change. There's moments where you think that you're up and you're not really up, you're down. There's moments that you think you're down and you're actually better where you started. So I think that the journey is more important than the destination. I think the evolution of who CRM has become is or who CRM has become is very, very fun. It's difficult, especially working with family, but it's very beautiful. And I think that whoever it is and whatever their journey is, you just gotta go through it day by day.
Yeah, that's something that took me a while to realize as well. Is I always thought, I remember there was one week where I was working really hard. This was a few years ago. I think I was like 21 or something, and I couldn't wait. I had a just big week of work. Couldn't wait to get to the weekend, and I was like, when I get all my stuff done, then I can just relax. And then I got there, and I was like, now what? And I just felt this emptiness, and I realized that like the fun is in the journey. And like every time I hit a milestone now, like I realize it's sort of like a depressing, like empty feeling, and really teaches you to enjoy that kind of journey along the way as well. So yeah, definitely relate to that.
I mean, like the celebration, the victory, the spraying champagne only lasts 15 minutes, and then you're like, okay, now what? I think that watches are one of the few things, apart from like cars, and like there's very few things that especially men like that are like trophies to ourselves. Life doesn't really give you trophies anymore. So whether it's whatever you want to look at it, but in this case, I'm in the watch world. I feel like watches are trophies to ourselves that we should tie to these milestones, to these achievements in life, and it makes the watches a lot more special. Even if you're fortunate enough to have $1 million to go buy your dream watch, you buy it, you get the satisfaction of buying it, and exactly like you said, it's this emptiness feeling of, okay, now what? And that's exactly why tying watches to milestones, it makes a watch feel a little bit better, because then you remember the whole story with that watch. So with my personal collection of watches, I've been offered crazy money. I have a watch that I paid $20,000 for, and I've been offered $50,000. on the watch after a couple of years of having it, just because it's very exclusive. I've had watches that I've had, fairly large profits on, and I turn them down. Why? Because having an extra $25,000 in the bank versus knowing how hard I worked to spend my first $20,000 and buy my first adult or big boy purchase is a lot nicer. That memory is a lot happier than an extra $25,000 in the bank. Not saying that money doesn't help. Yeah, it always helps. But at the end of the day, like I tell everybody, I'm still going to live in my same apartment. I'm still going to have my same girlfriend. I'm still going to come to work every day. I'm just not going to have that watch that tied to such a special journey, to such a special memory. So I'd rather keep that journey and that memory than to have an extra $25,000 sitting in a bank account.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never actually heard that about watches and understood that that's one of the biggest appeals is like the memory of the milestones. And I guess that's why people gift them quite a lot as well to people. It's like sort of celebrating that milestone together.
Correct. So that's why you see people like, okay, an employee is 50 years with a company. Hey, here's a Rolex. Why? Because a Rolex. How many people do you know that probably don't have all the money for a Rolex and they have a Rolex tattoo? Like that crown signifies a status. That crown signifies I crossed that leap in my life. That crown signifies I worked my ass off to get to this point in my life. When you finally get that crown, you realize that that's just the beginning. It's almost like getting your black belt in martial arts. I did martial arts from 9 to 19. I did Taekwondo. When you get your black belt, people are like, yeah, I made it. No, you just started. Now you know just the beginning. So when you get your first watch, it becomes a crazy addiction. And those $10,000-$15,000 you never thought that you could put towards a luxury, because that's a lot of money for a lot of people in the world, just to put it on your hand and probably not even tell the time because you have your time on your iPhone. It's a big luxury. The fact that you thought you weren't able to do it and now you have 10 or 15 of them ranging from 10 grand to 100,000 sitting in a box in a safe, it shows you how possible you actually were of doing these things. It shows you how capable you were of doing these things. So to me, that's the importance of a watch. That's the importance of what I do. Not selling watches, not the luxury behind it, not the status symbol. It's what it represents within. It represents, hey, my daughter was born, my son was born, and I was able to not only afford having a kid, I was able to afford buying a watch so that when they're older, they can have that watch that I bought on their birthday. Those are all little things that happen that are very, very important. And every single one of my watches, I bought it was a person who had a story behind it. All those watches mean something to me, and they mean something to the person who owned it before me. I could have other watches, but those are my most important ones. And I'll show you later on some of these watches that I'm referring to.
Amazing, man. Yeah, I can see the passion in the way you talk about it and the genuine story. Like I can see why you guys are so good at it now. Like what you mentioned earlier about hating sales and seeing it more like educating people and guiding them. Like I can really see that in the way you speak about it. So yeah, that's really awesome. You mentioned obviously working with your family and stuff. Well, what's that like? I found that really interesting the whole time. We've been working together. I've been meaning to ask you, like, what's that whole dynamic like? And I guess maybe you don't know anything different in business, or you said you've tried some other things, but yeah, how would you describe it?
I kind of don't know anything different. I was a martial arts instructor. I trained the martial arts from 9 to 19, and I guess that's the only time that I worked for somebody that wasn't family. But being with somebody from 9 to 19 and working from like 15 to 19, they were kind of my family already. So it was the same exact thing. Everybody in CRM is family. Not everybody in CRM is blood. So even if you weren't born into this family, even if you were an employee who came a year or 2 years ago, you are family. We will live and die for everybody in this store. If you have a problem with somebody in our store, you have a problem with every single one of us. It doesn't matter if it's the guy who services the watches or the guy who makes the coffee or that video editor. It doesn't matter who it is. It's all our family. With that being said, it can get very beautiful. It can get very nasty. If you are a person who is easily offended, I've never worked in a corporate business, but there is no HR here. There is no crying. There is none of that. You cry, get over it, suck it up, go wipe your tears, and get back into the grind. With that being said, also, it's very cutthroat like that because it is family. Like I said, excuse my language, but with family, you could tell them to go fuck off and give them a kiss 15 minutes later, and it's all good. There's nobody's gonna get offended. That's how it is. With that being said, though, when it comes time to celebrate, for example, winter days, everybody sits at the table. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your position is. You sit at the table with the whole team. We don't have a separate team for like non-main employees or non-main. No, that doesn't exist. The videographers, the editors, the boat captain, everybody sits at the big table. And to us, it's if you are our team, you are our family. So the second that we feel disloyalty to you, we cut you off completely, and it's with everybody. So it's a very beautiful thing. Sometimes I leave work at 3:30 because I don't want to be here and I can't stand these people. But as soon as I get home, I'm like, wow, I really miss them and I can't wait to go back the next day. So sometimes you just gotta walk it off, wipe off your tears, brush off your shoulders, and be like, all right, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It was just a little bit of anger, but we're good to go. Sometimes you just gotta walk, go take a coffee or smoke break, go around the corner and go to the cigar lounge and go relax, go drink a beer and come back in. That's the crazy part about working with family, but we wouldn't have it any other way, because at the end of the day, when my aunt fights with me not to do a sale, it's because she's protecting not her pocket but everybody's pocket. When I feel like, hey, I have a good potential profit on this sale, I'm like, look, this credit card might be stolen, and I'm like, I don't think so, the guy did this and this and this, and she goes, yeah, thieves are very good at portraying what they're not. So like, she's a little sometimes extra careful. At the moment I hate it because it's like killing my sale, but at the end of it, when she's right and I didn't lose the 50,000 100,000 for the watch just to make an extra $5,000-$10,000 profit, working with the family is something nice. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I tell you, have to have a lot of patience. This is not for the weak heart.
I can relate to that on a not so much whole family level, but I definitely see Alex as that. Like, we've been best friends since we were 11 years old and always did lots of ventures together and co-founded this company. So everything you say about sort of giving hard truths and what happens in the office stays in the office, like that's definitely how it is. Like we give each other shit every single day, and then it's kind of doesn't impact our friendship in the slightest. And I feel that's why I personally don't think you could do business with anyone. I mean, and anyone you've not been through shit with, who's not like either family or like a really trusted friend. I don't get how people go into business with someone they don't know as well, or just like a colleague or something. Like, I definitely think that side of it is so important, being able to give each other shit and take egos out of it and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that on the Alex side of things. And similar with Hugh, he's like a brother to us as well, and Ross as well. Like, I've worked with Ross for 5 years now, going to his wedding this summer, and has that family vibe for us as well. So
I see how you guys communicate and how you guys are very, very I don't know, like I really don't know how to explain it, but you guys are, it feels very seamless. It feels like I don't have to change who we are or anything. Like, Hugh can text me at 1 and he's like, hey bro, sorry to bother you. I'm no bro, no bother. You are helping us to make money. For you to make money, it's not a bother, So like, even with Hugh, he's very chill. Gabby's very, like, you guys, it's not uncomfortable to work with. It feels like an extension of my family without knowing you guys in person. That's why I truly love doing business with you guys, and I'm very happy with you guys.
Awesome, man. Great to hear. I want to know what Miami's like, because that's kind of the epitome of being surrounded by, there's always someone richer than you.
Miami is a city where everything is not what it seems. It is the devil in person, as the luxuries, the lust, the everything is here. You just can't get caught up in it. You can enjoy in these things, but you get caught up in it because it will consume you. And that's what I mean by the devil is in Miami. I've been to Europe. I've been to 33 countries. I've been to Europe, to Asia, and all. And you see real money, in my opinion. You'll see the owner. For example, I heard this story where the grandson of IKEA, one of my friends found him on a train or a bus or something like that. And the kid was like, hey, can you walk me to my house? And he walked into the house or whatever. And when he looks, he's like, wow, this is a really big house for being Europe. And when kid started talking to him, he was like, oh yeah, I'm one of the grandsons of the owners of IKEA. And he was like, what the hell? He's taking public transportation. And like, in Miami, you'll find 4 or 5 friends splitting a car payment for euros just for one to alternate every week, just to post on social media. So you see the definition of true money in other countries, when somebody has a $300,000 Maybach limited edition, whatever, S-Class, with no badges on it, and just has a driver. Their luxuries are spent in different ways. Their luxuries are spent, okay, for the summer, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to do anything, and I'm going to go to a villa in X place, and that's how I'm going to enjoy my money. In Miami, it's how much jewelry can you show off, how many girls can you pull, how many cars can you pull up in, how much bottles can you spend in the club. So it's it will consume you if you are into this cloud. I have people who see me and they're like, why are you wearing a battery operated $1,000 Omega when you have Richard Milles in your store? Because I don't really give a shit. I do this for me. My cars are old cars. I have a 1994 Benz and a 2001 Porsche. My watches are all old watches. I do what I like, what makes me happy, not what everybody else likes, not what makes everybody else happy. So Miami is very superficial. You'll see a lot of exotic cars with a lot of miles just to say they own an exotic car. But nonetheless, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because if you don't let it consume you, it's a melting pot. It doesn't matter if you're from Europe, Asia, Caribbean, South America. Everybody hugs, everybody kisses, everybody shares their cultures. You have full Chinese friends born and raised in China speak better Cuban Spanish than I do. You have a Thai spot next door to a Puerto Rican spot. I feel like you go to New York and you have subdivisions of like all the Dominicans, all the Jewish, all of this, like the Chinatown, Little Italy. You have all these subdivisions. In California, you have Koreatown, Little Japan. You have, all these little areas. In Miami, it's like everything is combined, whether you like it or not. You'll have people speaking Hebrew with Arabic mixed with Spanish and English, and you're like, what is this guy talking? Like, what is he saying? Miami is a melting pot. There's a lot of culture. There's a lot of blend of culture. It's a very fun city. You can go out 24/7 if you want to. There's always a club or a bar open at whatever time. So it's a very fun, beautiful city, but you just can't let it consume you.
And well, speaking of that, then what's the business side of it like? Like, do you mingle a lot with other business owners? Do you kind of network a bit there? Like, how does that work there? I mean, it sounds like you tend to stay away from the devil in Miami and go more towards the business side.
I like to do a very, I guess, light touch and everything with business side here. Downtown Miami is like a high school. As crazy as it is, who hooked up with who did a business behind whose back, where this watch came from. So like, we get a watch and the client's like, oh, I'm here the first person. Like, you're the first person to offer this watch to, and you're like, oh, for real? And you show them the phone. You're like, that's why this guy, and this guy offered it to me. So it's like, all the drama, everything. It's a business where you have to interact with each other. Why? Because, for example, I know a lot about authenticating Rolexes. So I have a lot of dealers who come and they'll bring me a watch and they're like, hey, Charlie, can you check this for me? You're like, I'm a little suspicious about this. Can you use your microscope to check it out? You have watches that I don't have, that the dealer has, that I have to buy from him. No, I don't make the sale. I have dealers that I need to make content with, because if not, am I going to make the interactions and the business deals with? You have, for example, to make a Cuban link chain, you need the guy to buy the gold, you need the guy to make the chain, you need the guy to polish the chain, so there's a lot of different people involved in everything. So, for example, somebody's going to make a piece for an artist. Well, it has to go through a couple different hands. Even if it's within that same business, there's still different processes of it. You still need CAD designers, you need this. So there's a lot of chatter back and forth. So as a lot of people are mingling to do business together, and a lot of different businesses are mingling to do business together, a lot of things get spilled through the grapevines. Honestly, in CRM, we don't have a lot of time because the amount of fans that come in here. So we barely go outside. We barely know a lot of the dealers on the block. And people are like, how do you not know this guy? Well, I don't have time to leave the store. But we do hear a lot of the crap. Miami is, I wouldn't say as crazy as New York, because New York is slammed with jewelry stores and blocks of jewelry store. But Miami is on the come up. You drive down here and there's 20 or 30 towers, cranes getting built, like cranes building towers and stuff. So The business, it's a little crazy, man, to be honest with you. It's like nothing I've ever heard of. Other businesses do business together, but not so involved.
Sounds like an episode of Real Housewives as opposed to like a networking community or something.
I think that if they do a Miami Jewelers like reality show like that, not just us, it would be very, very interesting, because a lot of people watch different jewelers already. I think that if they were to get this, it would be insane.
I've always thought about that. I thought like there's not enough TV shows, like reality shows, showing the insides of a company. I guess there's like Selling Sunset for the estate agent world, but honestly, I think for any business, like there's so much insight. I think people would love to see it. I think it would be so cool to do stuff like that. Like, you guys could probably do a really good show, especially being a family business. Like, yeah, so it'd be really interesting.
We do the weekly episodes on YouTube in English and in Spanish, and they used to be more reality shows, but now they're more focused on negotiations in the business, because that's kind of what gets more views. But back then, it used to be like, I used to go on a vacation and vlog my whole vacation, go show me bumping into clients, go meeting our fans, and they used to be a lot more fun, in my opinion. But it's not what I think. It's what the people want.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe a Netflix special in the future, like done better, could be.
That would be awesome to get my own Pawn Stars.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I think that's a good place to move on to, I guess, the future. Like, what are your goals for growing CRM? Like, what does the future look like? Where do you go from here?
What do I want to do in the future? I mean, it might sound a little crazy. We've been doing our sweepstakes. I want to keep growing with our sweepstakes. I want to be able to do a lot more of them, just to give more people the opportunity to do it. As far as the jewelry store goes, I do like the jewelry store, but watches, is a very high cost item with very low profit margin. So I like the watches for the entertainment, for the, like I said, the milestones for people. It's kind of like I tell everybody, it's like, you know, the money is made in restaurants on the sides, on the upgrades, not really on the main platters, because there's not a lot in a profit margin, for example, on a McDonald's cheeseburger versus upgrading to the large fries and the soda. So
yeah.
with the watches, I would like just to have a big personal collection and just sell from my personal collection. Like, buy what I like, and you can come to our store to interact with us to buy what you like from our collection. I don't really see the watches as being a business that is like going to maintain the family for the rest of eternity, just because it is very, very hard to scale with that small profit margin and such a high cost item. My end goal for my life, though, and I've always said it since I was a kid, is just to do philanthropy work. So
Nice.
I would love to be a philanthropist. I would love to go help others in need, go promote, you know, well-being of others, go, I don't know, go build water facilities in third world countries, go develop educational systems, go give people who deserve education or health or whatever, go do things like that, and use our reach and our, you know, our, I guess, our fame to go do this. And we have a lot of people, man, who are very, very beautiful throughout CRM. You do get one or two stupid people every once in a while, but you know, that's the nature of life. But yeah, my end goal is to, we have right now CRM Foundation, and it's not something big now, but to me, CRM Foundation is the most important thing that I have right now. And it's something that I really want to expand on. And right now, I'm not focused on it at all, because I feel like you have to get to those stepping stones first, or you can't do huge donations, where you can do these things. You're always going to have people saying, oh, you made this much, but you only donated this and blah, blah, and this. And they don't see operating expense. They don't see any of that. And I'm not really focused on those people. But I really, 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 really want to go and give back to just, you know, our fans, to everybody who's helped us, to people who have impacted me throughout life. I remember I dropped out of high school because I had a 0.03 GPA, and I was like, at a class of 700 kids graduating, I was like 15th to last. And I had a teacher that he'll be like, Marcelin, you know, you always got to convolute the argument. You just throw dirt in the water. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, you're always curious. You always ask questions. And, you know, boss hate that. Like, they don't want you to ask a question. They don't want you just to do it. But not people who employ. Like, boss hates that question. But people who employ love to ask questions, because they want to know the why, the how. Why are you fit for my company? Why are you a good person? He goes, don't let nobody tell you you're not going to be great. Don't let nobody tell you you're not going to do this. And that teacher, even though I dropped out of high school, even though I was havoc and I was a mess in that class, he always spoke very highly positive of me. And I've always said, one day, very, very soon, I'm going to show up to the school and just go there with a little envelope with some cash and be like, yo, I really appreciate you. Thank you. This is a gift. And that's something I've always said, because, you know, he didn't do anything. He just spoke positive. And that was a very important push that stayed burned in my brain since I was 16 years old. So
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Awesome, man. Well, I was going to say, with the following you guys already have, like, you could go down that like Mr. Beast direction if you want to focus on philanthropy and use the audience to do amazing like philanthropy work, and, you know, donate what you're making from that to more videos and then make bigger videos. So yeah, it'll be a cool direction for you guys to go in, for sure.
We did the school. Did you see the school with the kids with disabilities? There's like people with Down syndrome, autism, just different disabilities. And we went to the school and we wrote down a Christmas list, and there was, I think, 25 to 30 kids there, and we went and bought everything from something as simple as a basketball to as crazy as laptops and stuff like that, depending whatever they have. And then we paid also for the whole school to go to Disney World. They're not kids. They're like, some of them are 30, 40 years old, but they're in a facility where they take care of them, where they're friends who interact together. And the facility is just based on donations. So we work tightly with them, and it's a beautiful experience, man.
That's beautiful, man. I want to give that a watch. That's on your YouTube?
Yeah, look up CRM Foundation.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely give that a watch tonight. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's a good note to end on. Really appreciate your time and shared like amazing things about your mindset and your stories. So yeah, really good stuff.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate you, man.